SAT and ACT standardized test has been designed to be the ultimate test of intelligence and a necessity for being accepted into college. It has been marketed to be the first step in achieving success. Words like achieve more and aspire are used in their marketing campaigns to attract students to taking the test. There are many benefits to the ACT and SAT. The SAT and ACT is an easy way to eliminate competition among other ambitious students applying to the same schools like Ivy League schools. Also, many believe that test scores are a good way of predicting the academic success of first-year students. The SAT and ACT gives students the opportunity to demonstrate their college preparedness despite the inconsistent grading systems throughout high schools around the nation. Another benefit is that the SAT and ACT test students' ability to apply what they've learned in high school and to problem solve based on that knowledge, skills that are necessary for success in college as well in the workforce. But I ask all of you today, is the test really that necessary? Remember the days of stressing out over obtaining that perfect score? The days you spent hours practicing and memorizing different rules and techniques, all to achieve one goal? I think I can speak for many of us, maybe not all of us, but most of us, that we were in this position in high school. Why should your college destiny be determined by only one score? There are many colleges today that are choosing to have test-optional application processes, and I believe more schools should jump on this bandwagon. There are currently about 800 of some 3,000 four-year colleges and universities that have test-optional applications, and that number is rapidly growing. Personally, I was a terrible test taker in high school. I'm an example of someone who worked really hard in high school, and I had a really good GPA. I was also really involved in extracurricular activities. The ACT was just not my thing. I never took the SAT. Fortunately for me, I was able to have an ACT tutor that helped me improve my score, and I was able to obtain a good enough score to get into Bucknell. But I have no doubt that my GPA and extracurriculars were a great part of the reason of me getting into Bucknell. Because of my own personal experience, I'm an advocate for test-optional policies, as I am a first-hand example of someone who has done very well in college despite my struggles in high school with the ACT test. William Hiss is the former Dean of Admissions for Bates College. He has done extensive research on this topic, and for that reason, he is a very credible source. Of all the sources I found when doing my research, his data was always quoted. The first reason why the ACT and SAT should be optional is because GPA and extracurricular activities matter more. According to Hiss, high school grades were the best predictor of a student's success in college. And kids who had low or modest test scores but good high school grades did better in college than those with good scores but modest grades. It is apparent in students that hard work, discipline, and intellectual curiosity in high school shows more through a GPA and outside involvement than simply through one test. The second reason that the ACT and ACT should be optional is because not everyone is great at taking tests. Someone could be extremely hardworking and can have really great grades, but just might not be the best at taking tests. The human mind is simply so complex and so multifaceted that trying to find one single measurement tool that will be reliable across all American students is nearly impossible. One test cannot equally apply to everyone. If I gave all of you right now the same test and gave everyone the equal time to prepare equally, the results would still vary. Lastly, results from his study show that taking away the test show an increased racial and socioeconomic diversity can be achieved by switching to test-optional policies. The SAT and ACT correlates to socioeconomic status, as many people cannot afford the SAT and ACT. Whether they can't afford to pay for a tutor or prep classes, or they can't afford the time, the SAT and ACT is not a resource available to everyone. Many New York families, for example, will spend over $20,000 just on SAT prep, and top tutors charge over $600 an hour. Obviously, the majority of people in this world cannot afford that. Many students, particularly those from historically disenfranchised populations, don't demonstrate their capacity to do college work as well on standardized tests as they do in the classroom. A heavy reliance on test scores reduces the number of otherwise qualified kids of color and second language speakers who are admitted. But if we emphasize test optional policies, the college application playing field then becomes leveled and more people are afforded more opportunities. So, you might now be thinking, what evidence do I have of a test optional policy being successful? Well, William has found that graduation rates of submitters versus non-submitters differed by only 0.6%. That is not a big difference at all. Additionally, non-submitters with high GPA graduate at a higher rates than submitters with weak GPAs but stronger testing. This supports the idea that GPA is more important than test scores.
Submitters and non-submitters enter college with very closely parallel high school GPAs, only 0.04 apart, but reasonably large differences in SAT scores of 149 points. In college, non-submitters start with a first-year GPA difference of 0.13 below submitters, but at graduation the GPA gap is 0.10. So despite the test score differences, submitters and non-submitters in both high school and college are only separated by a few hundredths of a GPA point. If only 37,000 students at 20 private institutions start with high school GPAs that are 0.04 apart and end with college cumulative GPAs that are 0.1 apart, a shift of 0.06 of a GPA point is trivial.
Some examples of colleges similar to Bucknell that have successfully implemented test optional policies are Bowdoin College, Wesleyan University, Trinity College, Wake Forest University, and Bates College. Of course, their applications are more essay intensive as they are still very hard schools to get into. Just because these schools are test optional, they are still very well regarded. I encourage all of you to advocate universities to start reevaluating their application processes so that kids in the future have more equal opportunities and chances to succeed. Thank you.